and welcome to Crafts with Ash DIY and Decor. Today I am so excited to bring you 6 ideas that you could make for your front porch. The great thing is that you can customize all of these to fit the colors that you like and the style that you're into right now too. I love how all of these came out, so I can't wait to show you. But first, if you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, then hit that little notification bell so you can get notified anytime I upload a new video. Then let's get social over on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure to hop on over there and give me a like and a follow. Today is also a special video because it is my first ever collab with another YouTube creator, and I am so excited and thankful to be collabing with Savvy Crafts with Savannah. She's amazing. I'm going to talk more about her in a little bit, but I think we should jump into the first DIY. So all of my DIYs are going to be inspired by this planter that my mom picked out for her front porch. So everything I made is going to follow that turquoise teal color. So everything I did kind of followed that style. So for the first DIY, I'm going to make a welcome sign. So I have this cabinet door. Actually, I got 2 for 99 cents at a local grocery store. I could not believe it. But the first thing I did was give this 2 really good coats of Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster. Next, I took some sandpaper and I sanded the entire thing down. Now, if this is not your style and you just want it purely painted and nice and clean, you can absolutely skip this step, but you know me, I love that rustic look. So I sanded it down as much as I could. Then after that, I cleaned it off. Now, I just want to let you know, I am wearing clothes here. I was just at the pool with my daughter, and then when she fell asleep for a nap, I just ran upstairs and started working on this. So I do have a bathing suit cover on and a bathing suit underneath that. So I do want to let you know, I actually do have clothes on. So after I got it all sanded down, I took these stencils that I absolutely love. I got them on Amazon. They will be in the description box below. And I spelled out the word welcome minus the O. For the O, I'm going to be using that little pot that you saw there, and we're going to add some flowers. And then, of course, this set only came with 1 E, so I put the H at the bottom as a space holder. After I had them all lined up, I took some painter's tape and taped it all down so they wouldn't move on me when I went to paint. After that, I took a little part of a sponge brush and Waverly chalk paint in the color Peacock, and I went ahead and stenciled all of these letters on. Now, I chose this color because, again, I am trying to pull out that teal turquoise color that was in those planters that my mom had picked out. I just want to take a moment and welcome you to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. If you're new here, thank you so much for choosing to join me today. I really hope that you love what you see and that you get some great ideas and are inspired to do some DIYs. If you're returning, thank you so much. I have truly appreciated sharing all of my DIYs with you, and I can't wait to share more. After the top letters were painted on, I went ahead and peeled back the tape and took off the stencils. Then when it came to the bottom, I left the M on, but I took the H off and then replaced that with the E. But I left the M on so I could line up the E underneath it. And then I went ahead and I stenciled that letter on. After that was done, I went ahead and peeled off the rest of the tape and the stencils, and then I just made a few touch-ups where it might have bled through. Next, I took the pot that I was going to use as my O, and by just dry brushing some of that peacock color over it, I thought that I would do this so that way it would bring the whole thing together and also make it cohesive with the letters. So after I did the peacock color, I went over it with some brown antique Waverly wax, and then I went over it with that plaster color on top just to kind of dull it all down. Now, to attach this pot to my sign, I really was trying to think of a different way to do it other than drilling a hole and tying it through or putting a nail in. So what I did was I tied some basic twine around the top underneath that lip, and then I'm also hot gluing it down, that way it doesn't move. Then I'm going to tie a little loop with the ends of the twine. Next, I took a command hook, and by using the super glue and the hot glue, I'm going to glue that down under the C, but I'm going to connect the pot to it so I had my spacing correct. So that way it hung where I wanted it to hang. Now, I made sure to use super glue because this is going to be outside and the sun will melt the hot glue. So you definitely want to use E6000 or something other than just hot glue. Then I threw a little super glue and hot glue underneath the pot itself. That way it didn't really move. Next, I added a little twine bow to the front of my pot, and again, I used the super glue and hot glue. Next, I cut off the rest of the twine that was on top. I'm not really worried about the command hook because after I put these florals in, you're not going to see it at all. So after that, to finish it off, I just threw some floral foam in my pot and just started adding any kind of flowers that I wanted. Now, I did end up switching out the flowers. My mom actually made an arrangement that she liked, and then she put it in, and then I added a little American flag, which you'll see in the photos coming up. And then just to protect all of it, I gave this entire thing a really good coat of Mod Podge. I really love how this came out. It really took me out of my box to use that paint color, but like I said earlier, I really wanted to bring out that teal or turquoise color from my mom's planters, and she loved it and I loved it, and it's a great pop of color on her front porch. What do you think? Alright, so like I said earlier, today is super special because it is my first ever collab, and today I am collabing with Savvy Crafts with Savannah on YouTube. She is so stinking talented, and her and I have the rustic thing going on. And she is so funny to listen to, and I absolutely love her DIYs. And when I reached out to her, she responded right away and said she'd be interested in collabing, and I was super excited. Definitely check out her channel. Her link will be in my description box below. She will also have a video of front porch ideas, and I can't wait to see what she has in store. I know it's going to be amazing. If you're coming over from her page, welcome. I am so excited to have you, and I hope that you love what you see. All right, let's get right back into the crafting. For the second DIY, I'm going to make a front door hanger for my mom's door. So I'm going to start off by taking this hula hoop that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut the little paper, it's not really paper, I don't know what it is. Anyway, the covering off of it, and I'm going to peel it back. Now, it did take me a minute to try to figure out how to get this off, but once I made a slit, you're going to see it came off super easily. And then because the two, it kind of detached from itself, I went ahead and poured out all of the little things inside, and then I hot glued the two ends back together. After that was all ripped off, I gave this entire hoop inside and out 2 really good coats of black paint. Now you can absolutely take this outside and spray paint it. I didn't have any black spray paint. I really just wanted to use what I have. It really didn't take me that long to paint this. It was just kind of hard holding it after a while because my hands would get all full of paint, but I got it done. After it dried, I took some florals that I got from the Dollar Tree, and again I have the little pops of blue in there, and then I found the perfect turquoise teal flowers there as well that I'm going to be using, and I cut all of my pieces apart. It just makes it so much easier for me to arrange this arrangement. Now, if you've been following me, you know I'm not great at the floral arrangements, but this one I thought I could handle, and I actually thought it came out pretty well. Now, for these white bunches of flowers, I actually did not cut those apart. I just used them as bunches. but I did cut the stem down, that way it wasn't so long. Now to attach all of my pieces, I'm actually going to be using some green twine that I had in my stash, and then just tie all of these pieces on. I did this for a couple reasons. One, I didn't feel like fighting hot glue and super glue to stay on the hoop because there's not a lot of surface area, and two, this would be easy to take apart if I want to reuse the florals or do something different or use the hoop for something else, and this worked out just fine. So what I did first was I laid out the white bunches stem to stem or end to end, and then I just went ahead and I tied it. Now once I had the first one tied, I cut the ends of the twine off, and then I just used that same twine to tie this other one on. Now I am tying it very, very tight, and I'm like double, triple knotting it so that way they don't move or fall off. Then I just cut off any excess twine. Next, I take the blue roses, I guess they would be. I'm not sure what these are. Carnations? I don't know. You guys know I'm not good at the whole flower thing. And this is where I say I'm going to cut them into individual stems, and then I'm simply just going to push the stems into the twine that's already there, and this actually worked out pretty well. Now, when I arrange these, I do what I call the mirror method, and basically that means that whatever I do to the top, I do to the bottom. So I just stuck one in the top, and then I stuck one in the bottom bunch of white flowers, and then I stuck one in the top and one in the bottom, so that way they're all even, and that way it looks the same on the top and the bottom. I hope that makes sense. Now, as you can see, some of the stems are poking through, so I just simply went through and cut off the extra stems. Next, I took these little blue berry flower plants and I stuck those in there as well, and I thought that that made this really all come together, and I really loved the contrast of blues in this little arrangement. After that, I took this blue ribbon that I got around Easter time from the Dollar Tree, and I cut a piece long enough to fit across the entire hoop. Now, I'm going to try to make this look like a banner, and at first I tucked it in the back, but then I realized that I actually wanted to go on the top. So all I did was I put the ribbon on the top of the hoop. Now, with the side of the flowers, I tucked it all in there, and so that way the ribbon was kind of hidden underneath the flowers. Then on the opposite side, I am just going to glue that down using the super glue and the hot glue. And what I did was I glued the ribbon down first, and then you're going to see that I fold it over on itself to make that banner look, and I'm going to glue that down as well. I hope that made sense. After I had that glued down, I went ahead and cut a dovetail into the end of that ribbon. And like I said, that's where I folded it over on itself, and then I used the hot glue and the super glue to give it that banner effect. Now for the other side, I am pulling it so tight, that way it's a nice tight piece of ribbon, and basically I'm just doing the same thing. I'm adding the super glue and the hot glue to where the bunch of flowers are, and then I'm going to pull, I'm going to push it down. I was like at the bottom of that super glue at that point, but I was determined to get every drop I could off of it. And that's just that fix-all glue from the Dollar Tree. I've really loved using that. And then I just did the same thing. I glued it on top of itself to make that banner look, and then I dovetailed the ends. Next, I'm going to take this home sign that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I am going to glue that in the middle of the banner, but first I wanted to arrange my flowers so that way, like I said, that ribbon was hidden and all you see is the end of it. I really love that look. I thought it was pretty cool. So to make this home sign pop, I did brush over it with some black acrylic paint. It's just a dry brush, and because I really wanted to keep the galvanized look on there, but I did feel that it needed to pop from the ribbon. And then after that, I just simply used my hot glue and my super glue to glue this on the ribbon. Then after all my glue was on, I wasn't even thinking. I put glue on the whole thing, but realized that only the middle of it was actually going to be touching, so I had to hurry up and move something underneath so the glue didn't get on the carpet. And then I just went ahead and pushed it down. I apologize if I sound kind of weird. I am still trying to get over this cold. If I sound stuffy or kind of froggy, I apologize, but I am at the tail end of it. I am feeling much better. So after that, I just flipped it over. I touched it up or reinforced it with some more glue, and that completed this really cute door hanger. I really love how it's not your traditional wreath. I am not good at, like I said, the floral arrangement or making wreaths, but I think that this I could handle, and I think it has enough florals and flowers, and it's so modern looking as well, and I love it, and my mom loves it too. But what do you think? For the third DIY, we're going to be making a little plant stand table. So I started off with this pizza pan, and I gave it 2 really good coats of the Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. After it was dry, I took this placemat that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I thought it was perfect because not only did the color match perfectly, but I really loved what it said. So I realized that this splatter screen actually is the perfect size to trace around these placemats or whatever you're going to put in the middle of a pizza pan. So I went ahead and I just traced it around, and then I'm going to cut it out. Then by using that super glue and hot glue, I'm simply going to glue this placemat in my pizza pan. Now, because that planter had a mix of browns and that teal turquoise color, I grabbed my truffle paint in its Waverly chalk paint, and I dry brushed that around this tray. I went around the perimeter on the plaster paint, but then I also went in the middle as well, because like I said, I'm trying to tie it all together. And I thought that this really not only made it distressed, but it actually went really well with those planters. Now, to cover the edges of the placemat, I took this piece of mop, actually, and I hot glued that around the inside of the pizza pan and the edge of the placemat to cover it. Then I did decide to flip the pan over and give that 2 really good coats of the plaster chalk paint. While that was drying, I took 2 plungers from the Dollar Tree, and I took the plunger part off. You guys know how much I love using these plunger sticks. But after I got the plunger part off, I took this little saw that I got from the Dollar Tree and I simply just cut off the curved ends. I did leave the little corkscrew end on there because it's flat at the top, but I wanted to cut off the curved end. Now what I did was I cut off one first and then used that to measure all the other ones, and then that was going to be the length of all three. Now this little saw worked at first really well, and I really loved using it, but then you're going to see what happens in just a minute. And boom. My saw completely broke right mid-saw. So then I just grabbed my saw from my miter box and I finished cutting off the end of this plunger stick. Once I had all of my sticks cut down and they were all the same length, I went ahead and sanded down the edges so they were nice and smooth. Then by using my hair dryer and my little scraper tool, I scraped up all of the stickers on the plungers. Then I gave each one 2 really good coats of the Plaster Waverly chalk paint. While those were drying, I took this pot that I got from the Dollar Tree, and by using my CROP-O-DILE, and again, any of these supplies are going to be linked in the description box below, I punched 2 holes next to each other on one side of the pot. Then I took a large zip tie, I put it through one hole and then back through so that the ends were on the inside of the pot, and then I kind of tightened it a little bit, and then I slipped in one of my plunger sticks and then I tightened it. Now I did try to make the plunger stick a little angled, so it like at a slant, so it stuck out, and it seemed to work a little bit, but then I did that to the opposite side as well. Now you're going to see that I accidentally punched too many holes. I don't know why I did that, but nonetheless, there it is. And then I just did the same thing, so now I have 3 plunger sticks attached to my pot. Then I went ahead and reinforced each one of the sticks with some super glue and some hot glue. But I love that CROP-O-DILE tool because it goes through metal, wood, plastic just like this, and it really comes in handy. I'm loving it. So after all of my zip ties were all through and glued down, I went ahead and cut off the end of the zip ties so that way they weren't sticking out. Next, it was time to put our pizza pan on the top to make the top of our table. So all I did here was I just put some hot glue and super glue on each one of the plunger sticks, and then I just simply put the pizza pan on top. Now, as I was doing this, like I said, I did kind of try to slant them a little bit to give them extra stability. It kind of worked, kind of not worked, I don't know, but you can see that I'm slanting it a little bit, and then I'm just pushing really hard. Now I am holding it down until the hot glue set up, that way it gave it some kind of immediate hold, and then you're going to see that I actually flip it over, that way the weight is on the top. Now I've had this for about 2 weeks now, and it's actually done pretty well. It's held up pretty good. So once it was flipped over, I did go back and reinforce wherever the stick touched the pizza pan and the pot with some super glue and some hot glue. Now, even though the legs didn't end up being even on all the sides, I still really love how this came out. It fits perfectly in the corner of my mom's front porch, and I can display some plants and some flowers, and it is so cute. What do you think? Now for my next DIY, I honestly was just playing here. I picked up this little turquoise or teal planter from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just trying to recreate the look that was on that original planter. And if you caught it, this was in the pictures just before, and I did not get pictures of this individually, but I just thought that I would take you through my process, which is really just throwing paint on. And I was trying to do this by memory because I didn't have a picture next to me of the planter, so actually I kept running downstairs and checking the planter and comparing the two and holding it next to each other. And so it was actually kind of funny because I don't know, that's just how I found it easier. So you're going to see that I go in with some dark blue and then that peacock color, and then I run downstairs, I go check, and then I kind of fix it up again or change some stuff. So this is just kind of how I got to the final look. I was just really playing with colors. You know, I did not paint a lot. If you followed me for a while, you've heard me say a couple times that I used to be really afraid of painting. If anything required paint, I would avoid it. And now I absolutely love painting. I love, getting my hands dirty and mixing the colors and finding the textures and adding dimension. So this was just really fun for me. And like I said, this was just kind of something I just wanted to play with, but I just wanted to take you through. I'm not going to say that it turned out perfect or exactly how the planter looked, but hey, it was a learning process for me, and it gave me more practice with kind of doing this textured and double or two-toned look, or actually I guess it ended up being four-toned really after all the paints went on. Also, this is your friendly reminder that if you're loving what you see so far, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Not only does that help my channel to grow, but it also tells YouTube that you're loving my content and would like to see more, so then they'll start putting more of my videos in your homepage so you can catch even more DIYs. So if you would be so kind, hit that like button. I would ever be so grateful. Okay, so I want to know, you've heard me several times in this video refer to the color of the pot or the paint as teal or turquoise. You tell me, is it teal or is it turquoise? I don't know, I kept going back and forth, but let me know in the comments which one you would call it. Okay, so I just wanted to share with you a little bit of that painting process. And like I said, I don't really have any individual pictures of it, but at the end you're going to see some final photos so you can check it out then. For my last DIY, we're going to be making some pillows. When I saw these dish towels at the Dollar Tree, I thought they were perfect. Not only did the colors match, but also I love what it says because my mom's front porch is filled with flowers, which you'll see, so this could not have fit in any better. So the first thing I did was open up the entire dish towel and cut it in half. Then I took this placemat that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm using my knife, or you could use a seam ripper, to tear apart the front and the back. I'm only going to be using the back, this turquoise or teal part, as the back of the pillow. So once I found an opening and started ripping the hem or the seam, I just ripped the two apart. After that, I took one of the halves of the towel, and I am measuring it to the back of the placemat, and I decided that the towel was actually a little too big, so I'm just going around the inside of that black square and cutting out just the beige part of the towel. And then I'm going to cut the placemat in half so that way it will fit this towel. So now I am smoothing out the placemat. Some of the edges were folded under, so I am just trying to do my best to unfold all of it. And then I'm going to lay my dish towel upside down, so the printed side down, and then I'm going to start hot gluing it. Now you can absolutely sew these pillows. I do not sew, so I opted for hot glue. It's working out just fine, but I just added some hot glue to each of the edges, and then I'm hot gluing the towel onto the placemat. Now when I got to the fourth side, I only hot glued half of the side because you're going to need to leave an opening so you can stuff it. Once that was done, you're going to flip your pillow right side out, and then I just used some stuffing from an old pillow and I started stuffing it so that way it was nice and full. Now here's a little tip or trick for you. I actually use a dowel rod or a skewer to push out the corners. So I just stick it into the middle of my pillow and then I just push out the corners. And then I also use that to help stuff the corners with the stuffing as well. So before I started stuffing it, I did just go through and reinforce some of the sides that may have not got glued down properly. And then after that, that's when I took my dowel rod and pushed out the corners, and then I'm going to stuff it. Once my pillow was stuffed and as full as I liked, I went ahead and I folded in the corners and then I hot glued down the rest of my fabric. Now, here's another little tip for you. It is so much easier if you fold down the fabric on itself, glue that together, and then glue the two together. I will walk you through it because I know that was confusing. So as you see, I folded the turquoise fabric over. I'm gluing it down to itself. So I added some glue. There we go. It's glued down to itself. And then I'm going to glue the two together. It just makes it so much easier and keeps all your fabric even and helps when it goes to glue it. That way the stuffing doesn't get in it. And as you saw, I also used my dowel rod to push that stuffing in there. Now, as far as the corners, I'm just going ahead and pushing them in, and then I'm going to add some hot glue to secure it. Now, I ended up making 2 of these types of pillows, and coming up, I'm going to show you how to make one more type, and I think that one is so much easier to make, but I really did love making this one too. And like I said, all these accessories and all this decor today added so many pops of color to my mom's front porch, so I loved it. So I ended up picking up 2 of those dish towels. So I grabbed the other one. Now, rather than using a placemat to be the backing, I'm going to fold it over on itself, but inside out, so all of the print is on the inside. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use my hot glue to glue down the sides, but I'm going to leave a half of a side open, so again, we can go ahead and stuff it. Once all of my sides were glued down, I'm going to, again, take this one and turn it right side out, and then I'm going to use my dowel rod to poke out the corners, and then I'm going to stuff it. So basically, I'm doing the same thing that I did to the first pillow. After it was all stuffed, I'm going to take the edges, I'm going to fold them down on itself just like we did with the other one, glue that down, and then I'm going to glue the two ends together. Now I decided to give this one just a little bit more detail. So what I did was I took this blue twine from my stash and I'm just wrapping it around 3 of my fingers several times. Sorry, correction, 4 of my fingers several times. Then after I have it the thickness that I like, I cut the end off, and then I'm going to take another little piece and I'm going to tie at the top to look like the beginnings of a tassel, and that's exactly what we're making. We're going to make a tassel. So after that was cut off, or I'm sorry, tied on, I cut off the excess twine, but I am leaving some twine on there to adhere to the pillow. Then I'm going to cut the loops at the bottom and then cut it all so they are even. Now I did make 4 of those, 1 for each corner. So after they were all made, I went ahead and I created like a little opening with my finger in each corner, and then I just simply hot glued the tassels to each corner. And that was it. That finished this super easy little pillow. Now I used this one on the little swing that we have, and then the 2 other ones I put on little chairs, and again, they just added so much detail and made it so fun and summery looking out in the front porch, and they're so comfortable but yet small so they don't take up a lot of room. What do you think? I loved how each one of these DIYs and accessories came out. Like I said earlier, this really took me out of my comfort zone using those colors, but I just think they all ended up being really fun. I think my favorite one is this sign right here because I love things that are interchangeable. And if you notice, I didn't hot glue the flowers in, so that way we could take them out. And you see I put that little flag in there for 4th of July, but you can also put some pumpkins or some poinsettias or just really change it up for each season or holiday, and I really love the idea behind that. I want to thank Savannah over at Savvy Crafts with Savannah for collabing with me today. I could not have picked a better person for my first collab ever. She is just so amazing, like I said. So I know that all of you probably know who she is, but if you don't, please jump over to her channel after you're done watching my video and catch her videos. They are just so amazing and so fun. You're going to have to let me know down in the comments which one of these DIYs was your favorite. I hope that I inspired you today to make some front porch decor or some decor for your home and that you got some fun inspiration. I want to thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Then hit the little notification bell so you can get notified anytime I upload a new video. Also, please don't forget to hit that like button if you loved what you saw today. Well, until I see you again, I'll craft with you soon. Bye!